Welcome back to American Warrior Radio right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL. And folks, you can listen or ask anybody of your friends, your relatives, churchgoers, wherever they're at on the planet at 1300WMEL.com every Saturday from 11 to noon. We're going to bring you this kind of information, exciting guests. You know the drill. Well, guess what? We've got another wonderful guest, Glenn.
Absolutely, and she's going to provide us a bunch of information that's going to be valuable for all you veterans out there.
So let us right now welcome Christy Bagalow of the Community Legal Services of Mid-Florida. Can you hear me, Christy?
Yes, thank you for having me on the show today.
Oh, it's indeed our pleasure to have you, because I know you're doing a lot of good for our veterans and even some active duty folks out there. But before we go into that, give our audience a little thumbnail sketch about your own biographical information, where you were born, raised.
All right, I'm a native Floridian, born in Gainesville, so I guess that's why I'm a Gator for life.
Okay, you're the one. You're the native Floridian.
You're the one, okay.
Okay.
And I was raised in DeLand, which is between Orlando and Daytona. And I went to law school later in life after I had my kids and stayed home with them for a few years. I thought, I really want to do something to help people, and the law is a helping profession to me. So I'm very fortunate to have this job working for legal services where I get to help people every day.
And you have a specific area of interest.
Yes, I was lucky enough to accidentally get started in the Veterans Benefits field. So I help veterans with their VA disability claims all the way from initial claims up to the Federal Court of Appeals, and I absolutely love it.
Now, how many folks are employed in the Veteran Services arena with the Mid-Florida Legal Aid?
Well, really it's me. Some other people in the Public Benefits Unit are cross-training and trying to learn a little bit about VA benefits, but anyone who's dealt with VA benefits knows it's a very confusing and long process. So really I'm the one who focuses on veterans benefits.
Well, wonderful, Christy. Yeah, because Title 38 is an expansive statute, as is Title 10, which I know you delve into as well.
Right.
Title 10, folks, is active duty issues. Title 38 being all the veterans law. So you mentioned, you just kind of did a high side pass there, one of Glenn's phrases. Give us a little more detail about if we have a listener right now that has an appeal before the Board of Veterans Appeals, or they just got their final denial from the regional office for maybe a reopened claim or what have you. What can you advise them to do aside from the veteran service organizations? And again, I'm talking just right now about appellate issues. What should they do? How should they contact you? What should they have prepared for you? And so on and so forth.
If it's a final appeal from St. Petersburg, generally there's only 60 days to appeal, so it's very important for them to call us right away. That way they can continue their appeal up to the Board of Veterans Appeals. The number in Brevard County to call is 866-469-7444. We also have a new website, Community Legal Services of Mid-Florida. If you search for it, it will come right up, and you can apply for help online. So if you don't have time to deal with the phone line, just apply online.
But how much can they expect to have to pay for your services?
Nothing. That's why I love what I do.
Oh, we like that. Free.
Free.
Did y'all hear that? Free.
Free. I know free and lawyers usually are not words that you can together. So yes, all of our services are free. You do have to meet some income guidelines, which the intake person will go through when you call our line, or if you go on the website, you'll see the income qualifications.
And honestly, you will, because it's a great website and it's easy to navigate. The tabs are easily displayed, they drop down and all that jazz. How large a swipe of Florida do you practice in? I mean, how many counties? What are the counties you serve?
I cover 12 counties doing veterans benefits. The project started out just over in the Daytona area, but when I took over, I wanted veterans in our entire service area to be able to access this service. So we cover from Brevard all the way up to Flagler, out to Marion County, and down to Osceola. So really the whole middle part of the state.
That's incredible. And again, here in Brevard, if anybody has need for your services, again, we want to encourage them to check you out online at clsmf.org, right?
Right.
Community Legal Services of Mid-Florida. But if they're here in Brevard, they can call you at 866-469-7444, correct?
That's right, and that line is open every day from 8:30 to 4:30.
Okay, good to know. I was looking at all the help you provide, and for veterans, particularly on veterans benefit issues. We were talking about appeals, and you talked about filing for disability compensation and pension programs. And I noticed there's a couple of other things that you can help with for the people who are eligible, and you might cover that so people would know that service is available.
Yes, we do have, we cover pretty much anything that has to do with the VA, and that means overpayment issues. It can also mean appealing your disability discharge rating. That's something new that's been coming in the door more often, where veterans were discharged with a 20% disability rating when they probably should have gotten at least 30%, which would have qualified them for retirement rather
Right.
than separation. That's been a big issue coming through the door lately. So call us. I mean, we're always happy to explore new issues. We actually have had some active duty people get our help during the PED process and argue that they should be above the 30%. So they get it taken care of right then before they're even discharged.
This is excellent, excellent news here, folks. Just delving in a little deeper here. So some years ago, Congress recognized that the services, in particular, there's some better, some worse,
Right.
were shortchanging our guys and gals that were getting medically discharged, to where if they don't meet 30%, they're not going to get medically retired. And they were shortchanging them, kind of just getting them out the door at less than what they had coming. In other words, the unfitting condition list, whatever they said was disqualifying, wasn't as comprehensive as it could have been. So are you saying that you work with the PDBR, the Physical Disability Board of Review?
Yes, that is a new issue that's come up. I handle the appeals for veterans who have gotten out a few years ago and are trying to upgrade to retirement. I handle those, but another attorney in our unit had a new case come in where the guy was still in service and he didn't necessarily want the attorney that was assigned to him to help him with the PDBR. So he actually asked us to help him, and instead of being discharged with a 20% rating, he ended up getting 80% and qualifying for retirement.
Oh, outstanding.
Excellent. And for our listeners, just throw in here, Garen was talking about people being shortchanged, short-shifted, and not getting the correct disability rating, which led to properly being military retired rather than just getting severance pay. And how do you find that out? Well, one quick way is the first rating they get after they get off active duty is 30% or higher, when the military put them out with 10 and 20 or sometimes 0.
Well, how about an example there, Glenn? Let's say it was a right knee injury and they got discharged from the military, paid some severance for the right knee. Maybe it was considered 10%. They went through a MEB, and we're just bantering here, Christy, so just jump in whenever. Medical Evaluation Board, kind of the preliminary steps in the military discharging somebody with an unfit condition. And they get out, and you're saying if the VA rates them...
Yeah, the VA, the quicker you... The key here is the quicker you file for that claim after you get off active duty, the higher your opportunity for approval of an increase in your discharge that Christy's talking about here, because essentially the VA will be using the same evidence that the military used to give you less than 30%, and I've seen them come up, like Christy said, it was an example with 80%. I've seen 60% for people that were put out of the military with 10% severance pay for medical. So
the takeaway there, Christy, is all is not lost if you get your initial rating from the VA and it doesn't jive at all with what the military puts you out on. Your service offers some help in that arena.
Exactly, and that's kind of a confusing process for everyone.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
With the VA, so definitely they should call us. We've had good results so far, and I've got a few cases pending right now. Now, something important to note is that some of your listeners may have gotten a letter if they were discharged, I think, before 2010.
Yeah, December 31st, 2009. Yeah, from 2001 to...
A lot of those letters have gone out, and they're recommending going through the CDBR. Now, the danger there is that they're only going to look at what the military considered your unfitting condition.
Correct.
You can't argue and bring in all the other VA conditions. So
That's-
that really limits the appeal. So I prefer to go with the review board.
Yeah,
each
the
branch of service.
the BCMR, which is the Board of Corrections for Military Records. It's a review board, and you have, I believe, statutorily 3 years from the date you become aware that you are eligible to apply for this to actually do it. Correct, Christy?
Yes, and they usually allow exceptions. So if it's been more than 3 years, that's fine.
Oh yeah, I've seen plenty of exceptions when I was still working my 22 years in the business. So
Right. So, but an additional area that you help is active duty folks that are going through the process of being medically boarded out if they have an issue. Okay.
Yes, it's much faster to get it resolved at that point than waiting to appeal it years later.
And folks, we're talking about lawyers representing you here. Christy, you're a lawyer. Like you said, you went back to law school because you wanted to serve the greater community, and I'm so appreciative of you focusing your efforts on veterans because, as I'm sure you found out, you broadened your scope geographically, and then I'm sure you've been overwhelmed, but you have some good help, it sounds like.
Yes. It's been an honor and a pleasure working with veterans. I tell everyone I have the best clients in the whole place.
Well, wonderful.
we agree.
No doubt. And I want to share with folks, because again, the time just flies by on American Warrior Radio. I want to share that we've got some really great news coming up, and we're going to have Christy back on regarding a program that you've already done in another area here locally in Central Florida, and we're hoping to bring it to Brevard County, but I'll just keep that under wraps for now till we get it firmed up a little more. But you're just a wonderful gal, and what you do there at the Legal Services of Mid-Florida is phenomenal. Can't thank you enough. One more time, if they're in Brevard and they have an issue that they think you may be able to help them with, what's the number they should call?
It's 866-469-7444, and do make sure you check out our website because you'll see all the other services we offer for both veterans and non-veterans.
Right, and they can also apply for benefits right there.
Right.
What's that website again?
It's clsms.org, Community Legal Services in Mid-Florida.
Now, let's say we've got a listener out there in Wyoming, and we do. We've got listeners across the country, and they have an issue, and they want to know if you may be able to have a referral source. Do you do any of that?
We do. We try to refer to other states because we can only practice law in Florida, and we are limited to our 12 counties, but we do try to get people to the right place so they can get help.
Outstanding. Thank you so much again, folks. We've been talking with Christy Bagelow, and what you do there at the Legal Services of Mid-Florida is just amazing, and I know we're going to be talking to you more down the road because, like I said, I'm excited about this program you've instituted in other places and are going to bring to Brevard. So, Christy, thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great weekend, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
You bet. Bye-bye. Glenn?
Let me add thank you, and okay. Now what?
sorry. I'm so thrilled when we can bring that level of service to our folks here that are listening.
Oh, absolutely, and lawyers bring to the table a different way of looking at the issues, even than I would sometimes because of their legal training, just in how the law works and how appeals work and what are good tactics to use and those kind of things. So it's an excellent service.
And she mentioned that the United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims is the highest level. It's a federal court. It's the highest level of appeal you can have, and that's where if you have an issue that's gone all the way through the chain and been denied by the Board of Veterans Appeals, you have to get your case accepted. Okay, they don't just take your case because you want it. They have to see that your particular claim, your particular issue is of such significance and import that it could change the lives of many other people in their claims.
Exactly. So
and she's qualified and certified to represent folks at that level too.
And you have to have if you want an attorney at that level, you have to have one that's accepted by the court to do business before that court.
That's true. There are no non-attorney practitioners like I was at the Board of Veterans Appeals. When you get to that level, they're all JDs, Juris Doctors. So, again, it's great information. I'm going to throw the number out there again, 866-469-7444. Her name's Christy Bagalow, does a wonderful job. Brought up an issue, though, that we've had a guest on in the past, and I know he's moved on. He's actually in charge of the Board of Correction of Military Records now. Michael LaGrande, great man.
And
retired
of course
Air
he'll
Force.
be getting business from Chrissy because he moved to where she's sending some of those appeals on discharges to.
Exactly. Well, she touched on that, so let's just throw that back out there. What is this PDBR? What's it stand for again?
It's Physical Disability Board Review, and it's intended to look at those cases where people think they got shortchanged by too low of a rating when they were put out of the military and given severance pay rather than retired pay. And people had a pretty large chance of getting changed the decision and getting an increase in their disability by going to this board. Now that board closed out December 31st, 2009. So there's a period, it's from
2001.
2001 to end of 2009 is the eligibility period.
70-some thousand vets were eligible.
Yeah, and that's still open. It didn't close.
Correct.
So it's an avenue. As Christy said, the one drawback there is they will only consider those disabilities that the military rated you for when they determined your percentage to be medically disqualified from the military. And obviously we're talking about they determined it was 20% or less. If the first VA rating you get includes additional disabilities that are service connected, then you can't use those as part of your argument. But you can use those as part of your argument for the Discharge Review Board in Washington.
Exactly. Good distinction to make there. Again, just know that if you have an issue, you need to get in to see your county veteran service officer or another qualified, credentialed service officer, or give Christy and someone in her office a call and get some direction, because it's too important. It can be life-changing to get an upgrade from a medical discharge, like you said, a severance pay situation, to medical retirement. What's the number one benefit?
Well, the number one benefit is military health care, or TRICARE, once you're in the military retired thing, and then access to the military pharmacy. The medical benefits then become available to you. And the other thing is that if...
everything from that to space available travel to...
Oh, yeah, well...
Lots of...
Use of all the base facilities, and all that great stuff, and... not being subjected to having your VA benefit withheld until the severance pay is paid back.
Big point right there. And I know we're throwing a whole lot of stuff at you right now, but that's because we get so excited about this information.
I know, and I get going.
And Christy and her crew are there to serve you too, and we really appreciate everything she's doing. And I know for a fact she has great referrals for out-of-state folks, so if you're out there in Minnesota and you're listening and you need to speak with somebody well-versed in veterans law, you can get a hold of us at AVET Project, or you can contact Christy at the CL Charlie Lima Sierra Mary Foxtrot.org, okay, CLSMF.org, and check out the services that they have, or call them in Brevard here, 866-469-7444. I want to get a quick mention. We have got a fishing expedition thanks to Jeff Brown and Cop Out Outdoor Adventures coming up for some very deserving veterans and even some active duty folks. So if you're a fishing boat captain and you'd like to take some veterans out on the water, whether it's in the river here or out on the ocean, we're looking for a few more boats for February 23rd. Contact Kim at avetproject.org, Kim at avetproject.org, or visit Facebook, click the contact button and say, yeah, I got a boat, I want to get involved in that. Or you can call the office at 373-7046, 321-373-7046. Glenn, the time flies by. We never want to go off the air without mentioning this next number.
Yeah, The veteran suicide rate is way too high, and there is help out there. You can call the Veterans Crisis Line, 1-800-273-8255, press 1. That's 800-273-8255, press 1. And as always, don't forget, thank a vet.